Welcome to the Rise of the Challenge podcast. Joined today, he's a type 1 diabetic, host of Type 1 Lifting podcast, and CrossFit athlete. It's Thomas Lennon. How are you doing today, Thomas?
I'm doing great. Hey, I just want to thank you for, it's kind of for being on your show, because it's kind of weird being a podcaster. Like you do the interviewing and then someone wants to interview you, and it's like so weird to be on the opposite side of the chair pretty much.
Well, you won't have to stress too much because we love to have a fun conversation. We're so excited to have you on the show to talk about your rise to the challenge. What we like to do with all of our guests is go right to the beginning, talk about where you're from and what were you involved in growing up.
So I was originally from Massachusetts. I used to live in a very small town. Now it's actually pretty big now, called Sharon, Massachusetts. It's like 5 minutes away from Gillette Stadium where the Patriots would play. So, I was a very active kid. I'd be out, like literally take my bike and go to the center of town and never be home till like 7 o'clock, that kind of deal. Wake up and just go and just, hang out with friends and stuff. And so I was pretty active, and then playing sports and stuff like that. And I was just a pretty active kid. I was like, never wanted to sit down. I was always having like, I needed a stimulus, like either video games or just going out. So that's my thing. Cause like you don't know this, but I have ADD, and like I have a learning disability too. So like a lot of stuff would pretty much like, I just need to go constantly. It's like, I can't stop. I just have to keep on going.
But the different activities you did, was it more about doesn't matter which one I'm doing, I just wanted to be doing them?
Yeah. I would play basketball, football, mainly it was mainly like a lot of basketball, because football was like only like seasonal. But yeah, I would do that, soccer here and there. And then when I got to college, I played football for 2 years. I played basketball for 1 year. I played lacrosse all 4 years. And like, I never knew how to play lacrosse until like I got to college. They're like, hey, you're pretty good at basketball. You ever try lacrosse? And I was like, what the hell is that? And they're like, oh, you have a net in your hand, and you have like a long 6-foot stick, and you just like run around and play defense and try to score a goal. And I'm like, okay, I think my roommate's doing this. Will I be starting over him? Because I'm very competitive too. So I was like, will I be starting over him? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. I'm like, all right, sign me up. I'm in. So
Was there, out of those three or any of the sports you played, did you have an all-time favorite? Like, I wish I could do that as a future career, things like that.
yeah, because I originally, when I was like a kid, I was like, okay, I want to try to go to the NBA, and then I realized I'm like, I'm probably not there yet, because they're not starting me or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I know that's not going to work out. I know football was not in the tables either, because I was way too skinny to play. So when I got to college, I started playing lacrosse, and I just got hooked. I love lacrosse. I still talk about it. I still, mess around with the stick. I've been playing for now, I think it's roughly about like 24 years.
Wow.
So I played in like an old man's league. It's like over 35 lacrosse league. And so I kind of stopped because of the kids, and it just took way too much time to do it. But I would still play, still be competitive. I would still play it if I had the chance to, and I could still pick it up pretty quick. That's the one sport I probably could have done a lot of good things. I kind of excelled and gone maybe to pro or whatnot, but I just never. But when the pros came up, there was no money, really.
Yeah.
It was like you had to spend your own money just to play on a team, and it was just like, okay, it's not really okay, not the cards for me.
The only time I ever played lacrosse was high school, but when you're playing in high school, everyone's trying to like hit each other with the sticks. It's like you're not really playing the game. And then college, my university was really a top level, but there was just no like interest to like, oh, go see them play. It's always, oh, I'm too busy, or they play at the weirdest times, late at night or early in the morning on a weekend. And so I kind of watched it on now I get those Instagram reels about indoor lacrosse leagues, and it's more people fighting each other than actually playing the game. I'm like,
Yeah.
can I see clips of them actually playing, not a fist fight like they're playing hockey or something?
Yeah. Well, the weird thing is with lacrosse is like a lot of people don't know like the rules.
That's true. Yeah.
Like they'll go to the game and they're like, okay, what am I watching? Because like I kind of try to tell them that just think of it as basketball, hockey, and soccer together in one sport. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, well, it's almost like a hockey the field's almost like a hockey rink because you could walk behind the net and you could actually easily like substitute out through this little box and kind of go from there. And there's lines that you can't go through. So they're like, oh, okay. And then basketball kind of like passing the ball and like shooting and stuff like that. And that's how that they like, okay, I got that. And then a little bit of soccer because it's like all running, and like a little bit of football too for like hitting. But it's like for me, I really wasn't like the guy that would just full blown like check somebody. Like that was not my cards. And I'm a 6'6", big dude, and so it was like there was no need to like just label somebody. It's just like I'd rather just tip their stick off and just like lose their hand and just the stick fly all over the place and the ball drop. And I love that more than just like create like hitting people. So I was more like a positional defensive player.
You talked about your body size being skinny at the time playing sports. Did that not give you confidence when it came to playing as an athlete, or did you try to do anything to kind of build that confidence in a way?
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes, especially in college, when I first started, I was I was a defensive end, and the only reason why, like, because I was 6'6" and I was like barely over 200, barely at 200 pounds, but I was so fast to go around the corner, to go around the edge, that half the linemen couldn't catch me, so that's why they put me there. But it was, I mean, you see dudes in college, like you're in high school, you're like, okay, you're a decent sized kid for like the league, and then you get to college and it's like, whoa, these are big boys here. Like I was not aware. I'm like, and then like working out wise, just seeing them lift, and it's just like, okay, this is like I need to step it up. And it was like I tried my best, and I mean, I did get a good amount of play, especially in like special teams and stuff like that. But I started gaining a little bit more confidence, and then like that was my sophomore year. And then after that, concussions started coming in, and I was like, okay, I'm done. We're not worth it. I was playing like a D3 school, and I'm like, I'm not going pro. There's no need for it. And I'm like, why would I want to wreck my brain even more to even like do what? Like, oh, play like arena league football, and like they don't get paid that much either. It's like there's no point. I'm not gonna risk it.
We're always asked that dream question. What is that dream job of ours? As you're growing up, what was that dream job for you?
Oh, it was all over the place. Like astronaut, then like fireman. Like I had so many. I was just like, and then like when I got to before I got to college, I saw Independence Day, and so I was like, okay, I want to do like something like graphic design or computer animation stuff, because like that was like the movie with like animation with like the skyscraper blowing up and the huge explosions and stuff. And I was like, all right, I want in. And so I went to a school down the street from my house to do graphic design work, because they did a little bit of animation too. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And it kind of, it worked out for a little bit, but then, it was so hard just trying to get a job as a graphic designer. So hard, because they're like looking for experience, and you're like, I just got out of college, so I don't have anything.
Was this also before like the whole freelance world took off? Because now you can go to Fiverr and you can find millions of people doing the same exact thing, and they're independent contractors, really.
Yeah, I graduated. So I'm dating myself right now. So I graduated college in 2002, and so they just started doing graphic design work like with studios, companies, and stuff like that. And they never had Fiverr or anything like that, like contract work. And then like I did some freelance stuff, and the people were just asking way too much for the time that I had. I was like, this is not working out. I'm like, I can't do this. This is ridiculous. And then it was just like impossible to find a job for me. So, because I was too busy playing sports, I never really did internships. And then the internship I did go to, they were like, none of your designs are gonna even like face the client at all. And I'm like, okay, then this is what am I doing here? Like, what am I doing here?
So what was next after that? What way did you go? Did you try to go into a different route, or you're going to just test your luck and see if you can still find it?
So after college, I was like desperate to find a job. So I started doing construction work and stuff like that, because I used to do that during the summertime for them, for the company I worked for, like in between college. And then that fell through because they didn't have any work left. And then I just started working another job doing like hazardous waste removal. And it was just like, not, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm like, I got a college degree, and like, I know I needed to do a little bit more. And so then I got this security job at the hospital that I was working at for the time, for a little while. And, it kind of brought me into a path that I met this guy from the emergency department. He's like, hey, you ever thought joining the military? And I was like, okay. I mean, I've never thought of it. I'm like 27 years old at the time. And I was like, I want to get into nursing because I liked helping people out. That's like that. I still like helping people out. And I was like, I can get my way into maybe possibly getting into a nursing school and like going through the military because I get the GI Bill and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll join the military. And so I joined at 27, and
Wow.
all the kids in my unit were, I think we had like three 17-year-olds. And I was the oldest guy there by at least like 3 years or maybe more. And so they made me like the dorm chief and stuff like that. And I was sitting there lying on my bed, and I was like, part of my friends, but I was like, what the F am I thinking? Like, I'm a 27-year-old man just joined the military. Like, what is going on here? Like, why am I doing this? This is stupid. And then, 7 years later, I was still in the Air Force and had a great career, and loved every minute. I would have done 20 years fully if I had the chance, but diabetes came in the way. So that was a different story.
During that time at the Air Force, what's the biggest thing it taught you about yourself?
I love to have a schedule. I need to be routines. There's like really nothing else. Like I like having a routine. I still do a routine, kind of the same thing. Like eating wise, I'll eat the same thing every single day and don't get bored of it. And so and then like have with routines that just like, okay, I have to get up here. I have to do this. I have to, get the kids ready, do this. And I have to go to work, do this. So it kind of helps out. But then like you get the one thing that I don't do well is in like large crowds now. Cause like they always teach you like situation awareness, like you're always on the lookout, like, you gotta make sure, if there's like anybody that can like, just watch out for something or something can happen. So it's like always situational awareness. So I'm like, I could do large crowds, but it's just like, it's just too stressful. You're like, I'm like, I just want to get to like the farthest part of this crowd and just like, where there's like really nobody like just like on top of you.
See, I love schedules and my friends make fun of me, but then it's like, yeah, but I can get it done early if I need to. So it's like, even with the show, schedule, when do I post? When do I edit? When do I mark it and practice that? With work, when do I make a call? When do I start? Things like that. But it makes me feel I accomplish a lot more when I get those things done. And instead of, oh, if it happens, it happens. No, I don't work that way. I don't
Yeah.
work that way at all.
Yeah. And I've also learned with like lists and schedules, like you don't put a lot on that list
Exactly.
because there's no way you're going to finish it all. There's like, it's impossible. And then you just get discouraged, and then like, you like lose the schedule and you're like, okay, I'm not going to do this, like whatever. But like, obviously with kids, it's a whole different story. Like
That's
you
true.
try to get on a schedule and it's like, nope. I mean, you could do the best you can, but sometimes it's just like impossible to be on a schedule.
Well, you answered the biggest question with people listening to this is how we have the similar challenge with type 1 diabetes. Talk about how do we say it, the initiation story. How did it all come about? How did you join the club?
So it was funny. So I was living in New Hampshire for a while. I was in New England, and my wife got a job. She's originally from Georgia, so she got a job down in Georgia and was like, "Hey, we're moving down south." And I was like, "Okay, I don't have a job," and I'm like, "Okay, we'll live with your parents for a little bit, and I guess go from there." And so I drove down with her and my son, which was like, I think it was like 2 months old or something like that, and the dog, and we had two separate cars. So we both went down. I flew back up and stayed at my parents' house for the month just to get my my medical job, because I was working as a simulation specialist and kind of working in the ER for a little while. And I was like, okay, let me get a month in on this and just like work. Like that's really it, just to make as much money as I can. So when I get to Georgia, it'll be like a little bit easier. And I was like working out. If I was like, I had nothing else to do. I was like, just work out and go to work. That's it. And so I started drinking a lot of water, and I was like, okay, well, it's like midsummer. It's stupid hot. And so when I went down to Georgia, it was even worse. Like I think what really triggered, well, I was drinking like tons and tons of water, and like I was drinking OJ in the middle of the night, like orange juice, and because like it would quench my thirst, like it would help out. And um and then it got to the point where my wife, we're at a pool party, and I took my shirt off, and like I was working out so hard, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna look pretty good. And she's like, you look really skinny, like
Oh,
really skinny, like this is not normal for you. And so I was like, really? And I look at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, oh my God, like what happened? And so um, I got an interview working and I was working working in the emergency department at a children's hospital in Atlanta. And so they do this thing called, like it's a new hire orientation, and they do this thing called Strong for Life, where, which I think is pretty cool, because like I love numbers. I love, like, just checking out numbers of like my body, and just like, what's good, what's not. And they're like, oh, we do this thing called Strong for Life where we check your numbers. And I was like, yeah, go for it, have at it. And before they did that, they weighed me, and I was like 21 pounds less than I was like pretty much like 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I was like, what's going on here? And then they checked my blood sugar, and it was like 390.
oh,
And the nurse was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, like what's the deal? Like I'm fine. Like, and she's like, what did you have to eat this morning? I'm like, 2 bowls of cereal. Like like that's it. And she's like, are you sure you're feeling okay? And I was like, yeah, I feel perfectly fine. Like I don't know what's the deal. And so she checked it again. She's like, okay, I need you to do a 12-hour fast. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, she's like, I'm like, what are you expecting? And she's like, I don't know. I just want to see what it's like. This could be just a fluke. And I was like, okay. So I did the 12-hour fast. I bought this like CVS glucometer, which I still have to this day. Like 8 years in, I still have it. And so I checked it. It was like 271. And I looked at it, I was like, oh crap. That's not good. That's not good. And so I emailed the nurse, and I was like, hey, my 12-hour fast was 271. And she's like, you need to go to an endocrinologist like right now. And I was like, I don't have insurance yet. Like, I just got this job, and like the insurance doesn't kick in till like the first of the month, and I had like another 2 weeks left. And so I went to the endocrinologist. I'm like, is there any way, can you bill me for like the first of the month? Because that's when I get my insurance. And they're like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. And so they checked my blood sugar. It was like still like stupid high. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what is the deal? And so, and the guy was like, how much did you weigh before this? And I was like 23 pounds more than I was now. And he's like, yeah, I think you're a type 1 diabetic. And I was like, and this I was 34 a month before my 35th birthday
that's wild.
when this happened. And so I was like, oh my God, like what? What? And so he gave me like one insulin pen, and like one for my long lasting, one for my short acting. And I was like, what is happening? What is happening? And I was literally driving home, like no radio was on, nothing. I was just sitting there and like just driving in silence, just in awe of like, how does this happen? Like, I don't even know how this happens at all. Like, I'm a 34-year-old man that just got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Isn't that like a kid's thing? Like, kids get
Yeah.
it. And that's what everyone thinks now. But obviously, it's like, supposedly the stats are like 60% of new onset diabetics get it after they're 35. And so it's like, okay. But like, I didn't know that. But I was like sitting there like dumbfounded the whole time. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm a type 1 diabetic now. And she's like, how? And I'm like, I don't know. I literally don't know. Like, no clue. And So we're like, okay, we'll just have to figure stuff out and change your diet and all that stuff. And I think my A1C was like 11.5.
Oh, that's not good.
No, which is like stupid high. And so I was sitting there like, and they're like, yeah, your A1C is supposed to be like a 5.8 or something like that. I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, I changed everything. So the crazy thing was like the first 9 months, I got my A1C down to I think 5.8 from like 11.5.
That's good.
Yeah, and now I ate like a jackass, and just like the year after, and went back up again. So
Well, you talk about it's so interesting when I interview diabetics on the show and the different ages and how each person got diagnosed. It's never the same story. Everyone is so different. And that's what we're trying to promote is everyone gets it differently. I was 10 when I got it, but I was in the hospital with something else. So I was with bacterial meningitis for a week. And then they found out, oh, you're a diabetic also. So it's like, but my A1C was at 13.8.
ooh,
And
damn.
they're like, "Oh, you had like a 900 blood sugar." I go, "Huh? What does that mean? That is that good? Is that
Uh, I've seen 1400 on a kid.
I do not want even want to know how that kid is still alive because that just sounds super dangerous."
Well, I mean, when I was working in the emergency room, I used to have kids come in that are nuanced diabetics or like diabetics, and the kid that got it, um, what he would do is he was like really obese, and what he would do is he would jack up, like he would just drink like a whole bottle of Mountain Dew, and don't take his insulin for like 2 days, and then like it would spike up to 1400, so he could lose all that weight because he realized it's a lot easier to lose the weight with high blood sugar because you just pee everything out. And so I told him like, I'm like, bro, you're gonna like lose feet, you're gonna like lose your eyesight, and like you're not even like you're not even 21 yet. Like you have a year left to be 21, and you're gonna be like completely useless. Not useless. I shouldn't say that, but you're gonna be like no feet, no eyes, like you'll be blind, and like you'll just be like, why did I do this? You're gonna regret every minute you did it. And so and I showed him like pictures of like neuropathy of the eye and like the feet and stuff like that. And he's like, I don't want that. And I'm like, well, you better stop. Like, you better start taking the insulin, correct? So, but yeah, it's crazy what people do just to like lose weight and stuff, especially with diabetes.
With you getting it at your age at 34, do you wish you got it at a younger age to experience other like going through it? Like for me, I went through the 21-year-old stage, the high school times, the college times with it. So I don't know anything else. But with you, you didn't have to go through that during those big moments, the partying. Well, I don't know if you partied, but the time where people do that kind of stuff. Or do you feel that it at the age it was probably maybe okay because nothing's really changing as much?
I wouldn't want it when I was younger. There's no way, because like I was very immature, very irresponsible. I'm honest. Like it was, yeah. I couldn't imagine being a diabetic when I was that age in like my 20s, like teenagers. I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know if probably be here right now.
Well, wouldn't it change the military point? Because
Oh
I've
yeah.
heard that they wouldn't allow diabetics because we're such a hit or miss. How if our blood sugars are out of control and we're well, especially Air Force flying a plane around.
Well, 10% of the Air Force flies planes.
Okay, so I'm stereotyping right now.
No, but like, I mean, I was trying to get back in, but it was like to the point where like I had kids and stuff, and I was like, my wife's like, you're like, you're gone a lot, especially like the medical division too, and then, like they're like, I don't want like she's like, I don't want you to go back in. So, and I was thinking about it, like even with the diabetic, I was talking to a bunch of recruiters that actually know, and I'm like, is there any chance can I get in? They're like, probably not.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, and then if I was a diabetic, I probably wouldn't have gone in the Air Force. I probably wouldn't have gotten in the medical field. I'd probably be like doing some other thing, and I probably wouldn't be here now. So it's just the way things work too. It's crazy.
When you were diagnosed and you heard like usually the thing is, oh, you can't have sugar and stuff. Did that ever worry that you had to completely change what you ate?
No, no. Because like I always would talk to other diabetics because like that's the beauty of like social media. I'd reach out to other diabetics and be like, hey, like what can I eat and what can't I eat? They're like you could eat whatever you want. Obviously, I don't eat whatever I want, but like I eat like sometimes I'll splurge here and there, but it's like just dose your insulin properly, and that's it. Like just measure everything right, and then you're fine. And I'm like, okay. So I mean, I would splurge on like ice cream here and there, like nothing crazy. Just like I
Yeah.
wouldn't buy like the Mount Bellyache of like ice cream sundaes, but I would have like ice cream, and then I would do like take insulin and stuff like that, and then like I'd eat pancakes and stuff, just like once a week, like if that. So pancakes, I'd make them for my kids, and then I'd eat them. But like it's just all in moderation, pretty much. Just dose your insulin properly, and you'll be fine. I think that's just my personal reason. So
Well, I love when families are like, "Oh, you can't have that." I go, "Who said I can't have that?
exactly,
I didn't say I
exactly.
couldn't have that. I just choose not to." Like brownies were a kryptonite when I was growing up.
Oh yeah.
And I would test myself when I was at the beginning of it and I would start gaining the weight, blood sugars were out of control, things like that. But then over time, I started telling myself I needed to change. And now lately I've been finding like I eat so many salads, and so I'm, like, pouring salad dressing on my salads. Well, then I found a salad dressing that has no sugar, no carbs. So I'm like, "Oh, I can have as much as I want." Whole bottle,
Yeah.
literally, but it just taught me a lot about what I'm eating, but it didn't change what I'm eating in a
Hmm.
way. I had to be
Hmm.
smarter.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not like I'm eating like all this junk food all at once. I mean, it's just in moderation. You
Yep.
know, if like once a week I'll have like an ice cream or something like that. But like that's not all the time. And so and like even pancakes, like I won't. There's some weekends I won't make pancakes. I'll just eat what I usually eat for breakfast, and then the kids will have something else, and they'll have the same thing I'll have. So it's just whatever. If you like even pizza too, like I love
Yes.
pizza, and it's just in moderation. Like just know how many units you need to take for that, like whatever, how much you're eating. But that's the problem though, like when you're like out in a restaurant, like you really don't know how much like pizza you need, like how much insulin you need for the pizza. Exhibit A, like I went to a pizza place today and I was bottoming out because I over calculated. And so it happens, but whatever. I mean, it's a 24/7 numbers game.
Your life, you'd like to talk about being an athlete, and fitness has been a big thing. Talk about fitness and diabetes together. Has it played a big effect? How have you managed it and things like that?
I think it has. Because if pre-diabetes, I just go in and work out and just like have at it. But then like since having diabetes, I gotta check if I'm really high, I can't go.
Yep.
So, but and like it sucks because like it's just I love working out. Like that is like it's my personal gateway just to kind of improve myself and just like just me time, me time pretty much.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like it's like a bummer. It's like I said before, it's like a numbers game pretty much throughout the whole process. And then if your blood sugar is like stupid high, you're just like, well, I can't work out. Like I'll might go for a walk if that. And then it's just like you get discouraged with that, and I'm like, screw it. I'll just sit on the couch and just wait for it to go down. And then like it would take forever to go down. But like for me, I think I've actually learned that if I stop eating at like 7 p.m. and I don't eat till like 7 a.m. the next morning, and I'll work out at like 5 in the morning to work out, and so I'll be like, you can call it like fasting or whatever, and I just feel like I get better results for like my blood sugar, and it'll spike up a little bit because you still have that like fight or flight hormones that start kicking in, and like I'll see my blood sugar go up to like 230 or something like that, or like 300, and I'm like, okay, well I know it's my hormones are like just all over
Yep.
the place because they're just like, what the hell's going on? And so then I'm like, okay, well, I'll just like dose it properly. And then like after a while, my hormones will just like level out and then my blood sugar will be perfectly fine again. So it's, I have a Dexcom right now. It's like that CGM that's like attached to your belly.
Yep.
And like constantly, like I work out and like I'm like looking at the timer on my phone and it's like, oh, you're high, you're high. And I'm like, I'm not looking at you. Like I can't look at you right now. So because it's like I know it's gonna go up. It's obvious. And so I mean it's just it is what it is pretty much. But like I try to aim at like 200 for me working out because I'll just go I'll run or like lift heavy weights and typically like running I'll just like bottom out for some reason. And it's weird. Like I'll go for a run and I'll be like I'm not even like a half a mile away from my house and I'm at like 40 like or like 50 like my blood sugar's at 50 and I'm like, oh God, how the hell am I gonna make it home? And
Yep.
so like luckily like one of my neighbor friends, she has like a UPS like basket in her house that like has like cookies or like treats and stuff like that. So I'll just like go to her house and just take one of those bags. She allowed me. So and like just take those to kind of get my blood sugar up a little bit and then just kind of like walk the rest of the way home. So it's just like so annoying for running because I like running and but it's just like I can't do it. I unless I need to have like at least like a fanny pack with like filled with like stuff with me to even like make it throughout the whole run.
You got to get one of those that goes across, like, and it's just on your back so that you just flip it around and then just pop the glucose tablets or whatever you used for low blood sugars.
Well, Type 1 lifting does have one, so
Plug it.
yep.
I just feel with fitness, it's so trial and error for us because I would work out during work or my lunchtime, and my blood sugar would just go straight up, straight down because I eat lunch right after. But anytime I would work out after dinner, oh, my nighttime, it's going to be a nightmare. I'm either going low, I wake up late, I wake up not knowing where I'm at because my blood sugar has been low all night. And it's the worst feeling ever. So I've had to like test myself, like, okay, if I work out at night, what do I eat after to balance it out in a way, knowing that it's just going to go up straight down. And
Mhm.
it's the worst feeling because you don't want your body to go through that, but it's the life of a diabetic.
It's tiring. Like if you go high then low, it takes a toll. Like you get exhausted. And it happens. Have you ever thought about working out in the morning?
No, I'm the person, I work from home. And so
Oh,
I
geez,
wake
come on. You could definitely wake up early in the morning and do it. Come on.
I wake up at the last minute, wake up, get clothes on, walk 5 steps to my desk, and then it's when I'm supposed to be working. Even though my Peloton bike is sitting right next to me, I'm like, I should just get on it and then just hop over. But then I'm a sweaty mess if I get over there.
You're in your house. You're working
But
from
that's so
home, man.
true. No one would see me. But I've thought about it. It's just I sleep so late that I sleep till like the last second, and then I'm up all night. So I probably need to change. I'm horrible.
I mean, like I changed it because I used to work nights too. I'd be up from like 8. I'd work out from like I don't know, like 8 to 10 p.m. or even 11.
Wow.
And then I would go home, like stay up even a little bit longer because obviously like working nights, you got to stay up. And then I stopped doing that. I was working days, and I was like, okay, I need to, I definitely need to change this. Like this is, and then I just started working out in mornings, and it's a complete game changer, like for me, because like I'm a kind of awake, but like not yet. But I feel like I get more of a workout compared to like working out in the afternoon. But most of all my like PR lists have just been like in the afternoon around like 2 on the weekends. So like a
Mhm.
2 to 4 o'clock like slot because like I'm running around with my kids, I'm warmed up and stuff like that. But it's like morning time, I just feel like I get a better workout. And I feel when I get to, work, I feel like $1,000,000 and stuff. So
During this time, have you hit any fitness goals that you've had set for yourself?
uh well, I wanted to do a weightlifting competition this summer and I threw my back out twice.
Ooh.
And that was mainly because my hamstrings were so tight that my back was just like, nope, and just tightened up and just tweaked. And so, um, I was on a unreal path for like working out, like, cause like the Olympic weightlifting meet, you do only two lifts, you do the snatch and the clean and jerk. And so with my weight and the weight that I was lifting, I was probably going to go like do really, really well from all like the weightlifting coaches that I've talked to. And I just tweaked my back and I was like, okay, then like I had like a couple weeks left before the meet and I'm like, there's no way I can make this. There's no way. And then I had another one set up, tweaked my back again.
Oh,
So it was like, okay, it's I was destined not to do it this summer, maybe in August or September or something like that. So, but I was so disappointed because I really wanted to do it. Actually, no, the first one that I was supposed to do, it was my mother-in-law's birthday party. And so I was like, can I just go and then come back later? And there's my wife's like, no, you're not doing that. And then like the second one I tweaked it back. So
does that
yeah.
give you more drive for that next opportunity to even go harder, but knowing that you don't want to injure yourself so you can actually make it to that event?
Yeah. So today was actually, speaking, we're doing about the podcast today. So today I actually did push myself, probably the hardest I've done since I've tweaked my back, because I felt like my back has been perfectly fine. Like I would test some things out, see some things and do some lifts. And I'm like, okay, I think now might be a good time to kind of push it a little bit. And obviously like do a lot of stretching, because that's what typically happens. Like if your hamstrings are tight, then your back's just gone. Like you're just blow your back out. And obviously wrong form too is another big thing. But yeah, I'm hoping I can get one in this year, right before my 43rd birthday. So
I think I've had those moments where pushing myself too hard. Last year had a moment where I was in the hospital and I knew I had to change like everything, blood sugars, stuff like that, weight wise. I was 50 pounds heavier. And it took me a year to finally get the 50 pounds off. You might have saw that photo that I posted myself. And I would never post a photo like that ever. I'm not that type of person. I'm more like laid back, casual. But I'm like, I'm proud of what I've done
hell
and
yeah, you should
what
be.
I wanted,
Absolutely.
what I've accomplished. And now it's like, okay, I did that. What's next? And so I'm like scrambling to find something. And I'm excited to see what's next. And I think
Yeah.
what you're talking about with these competitions, it makes you excited to get there and actually do it, because you want to see all this hard work be played in effect. You don't want to get to it and then miss out or not be able to do it. And then you're like, well, I just want to give up now. We're diabetics. We don't give up.
Yeah, of course not.
We want
No.
to get out there. And especially your drive and your attitude, just even the times we've known each other, I could never see you giving up at all.
Well, it's funny because with like lifting, I think it's almost like millionaires becoming the first millionaire. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, you see that in the bank account, you're like, okay, all right. Then the next is like 2 million, and it's like almost like Olympic weightlifting. It's like, okay, like I hit this clean and jerk at this number, and okay, let's see if I can go like 5 pounds more.
Yep.
And then you kind of push it, and then like the snatch, you're like, okay, I can constantly do this weight at this certain number all the time now, like no problem. Okay, now I want to, instead of doing this weight, I want to do this. And so, I mean, I have some set numbers I want to hit. Like my snatch, I want to hit 250. In my clean and jerk, I was aiming for 330.
Oh, wow.
So I've actually squat cleaned 330 once. And so I've clean and jerked 320, and then I've snatched 240. So I think it was 245 once. So
I'm just hearing these weights and I'm like, I wouldn't even be able to even move the oh
the
my God,
bar.
the bar or the weights. I'm like, can I just roll it over?
Yeah, well, I mean you can there, but they're bumper plates, so you're good. So, but like you gotta realize that it took me so long to get there.
Yes.
I mean, I think I started doing CrossFit slash like Olympic weightlifting. I think I was 29 going into 30 or something like that. So from being a 30-year-old to a 42-year-old, and like if you told me like I was gonna be like throwing this amount of weight up like all the time, there I'd be like, you're out of your mind. There's no way. No way. Especially like being in my 30s, because I was like just working on technique and just like off of form, and like it was gross. But it was like it's all learning, because like it's, even though you're just learning those two lifts, it's, you know, all technique. You just watch everyone else do it, and it's like, okay, they do it this way, maybe I should try it this way. Or even CrossFit too. I love CrossFit. Like that's all I've done, like working out wise. I don't do weightlifting, like, you know, programs. It's just like all CrossFit. And so it's just like, it's like learning new things. You're like, okay, your first bar muscle up, cool. Your first ring muscle up, cool. Your first, you can actually completed a workout in the time that's like allotted for the workout. You're like, oh, yes, all right. And then it gets to the point where like, well, for me, it's like, okay, there's an 18-year-old kid there that I can definitely beat, I think. But he's a cross country athlete, so it's a running event. So I don't know if I'll do my best to do it. And it's like, it's just stuff like that. It's like, it just makes you get better. And my thing is like, I always preach technique, because like, if your technique's gone, you're going to get hurt.
Yep.
Or something's going to happen. And it's like, it's cringy to see some people in the gym, and I like try to give them pointers, and it's like, it just, sometimes it falls on deaf ears. And I'm like, I am at the point, I'm like, okay, I gotta slow my roll and just let them do it, and they'll figure it out. So, and if they have any questions, they can come to me.
When was your first time seeing CrossFit? Because I remember, I don't know when, maybe I was in high school or middle school, and it was on ESPN, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, these people are crazy. Like, these people are out, they're like superheroes, the women and the men, and all they're doing. It's like the women are catching up to these guys doing it.
Yep.
When
Yeah.
was the first exposure for you?
So the first exposure, I was at Airman Leadership School. So it's like a leadership program where you're a senior airman and you take this class to go to become a staff sergeant. And the Air Force base I was at, it was like right down the street from my house, and I was lucky to go there, and they had a CrossFit gym there. And before that, I was doing like this, I don't know if you heard of it. It's called the 300 workout, where like the guys from 300 would do this like circuit training, and like I would do that. And so I was doing that like at least once or twice a week. And I was like, I could do this. And so I go up to the class, and they're like, hey, typically you need to do an on-ramp program, but we'll just see what you got. And then we'll kind of see if you need to do the on-ramp program, which was stupid because I should have done it, but whatever. I didn't do it. So I did the work. I just started doing the workouts, and they're like, yeah, I don't think you need to do the on-ramp program. We'll just teach you all, like on the way to most of the stuff. And I was like, okay. And like, I kind of did it over spite, because this other girl, like I could not stand at my class. She's like, oh, I'm going to start doing CrossFit. I'm doing an on-ramp program too. And I was like, oh God. Okay. All right. And I was like, okay. So I just walked in there, and I'm like, just tried it out. And it was like, I got hooked. I loved it. Like the first workout, I was just suffering and just pushing yourself, and it just felt good. So for me, but I just like to suffer here and there once in a while. So,
Oh my God.
and no, like on a bike ride or something like that, like your legs are burning. You're like, okay, shut up, legs, just keep on going. Or just like if I'm doing air squats or running, it's just like, shut up, just go, just keep on going. So
I just love it. I'm just gonna let my body suffer. It's
yeah,
worth
why
it.
not?
It's fun.
Yeah. But like you got to think, like if you like suffer just a little bit, it's like you'll get better in the long run.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying like you're not going to suffer like every single day. That's just a recipe for just bad, like just it's no bueno, no bueno. But like just like a couple workouts, you're like, okay, like it's getting close to the end of the workout, or like the next round before I can like take a break. So let's just like push it a little bit, and then you get your little break, then go back at it again. So it's like that. So it's not like I just like I throw myself on the floor after I'm
Yeah.
done. Like, I don't do that either. Like I don't act like a dead dog. Like I think I've only laid down, I think maybe like three times.
Wow.
And I don't I just I don't think you need to do it. But there's some date times that I was like didn't know what to do with myself. I was like all over the place, and I'm like, all right, I'll just lay down because I just felt comfortable doing that. So, but yeah, I don't like laying down. It's just not my thing. So
All the events or obs not obstacles, but events that they have in CrossFit, which one's your favorite and which one's your hardest?
uh I like Murph. So Murph is it's a workout. It's from Lieutenant Murphy. So he is one of the guys from the Lone Survivor movie.
Okay.
So he was the Navy SEAL that um, had called in air support, and the only way you can get air support is off of a ledge that was open. And so he sacrificed his life to call in air support to get his guys home. And so he died on that hill pretty much. And so they did every Memorial Day, they do a workout. It's a 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats in a mile run. And you could do it with like a weighted vest, a 20-pound weighted vest. And I do it with a weighted vest. And I like, you could just stage it doing like, like 2 pull-ups, like 5 air squats, 5 push-ups, and like 10 air squats. I go 100, 200, 300 per run because that's the way it's supposed to be done. So I don't partition it, but like that's probably one of the hardest workouts I do, like yearly.
Wow.
Yeah, because like it's every Memorial Day. You just you want to you know do it for him or do it for like the people that sacrifice their lives to for this great country and stuff. And my favorite one, geez, I don't know. This is a tough one. There's so many good ones, so many good workouts. No, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of it right now. You got to get me back on that one. But like
All good.
there's a lot of them. So I love like some of the programming that some of these guys do too. So, but I actually, you know what? I'll give you one. So there was during the CrossFit Open, there was a rowing wall ball workout where it was like 20, you had like 19 minutes. You had to do 19 wall balls, 19-calorie row, as many rounds as you can constantly. And for me being a tall guy, this is like the workout of my dreams because like long pulls, you can get calories, and like wall balls, you're like literally just throw it up and like it just comes right back down at you within like a couple seconds. So you can just like rep them out pretty quick. So yeah, I mean, I'd probably say that's one of my favorite workouts.
See, when you say wall ball, that's not the wall ball I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of like you take a 4-square ball and you start hitting it and you're trying to
No,
get
no, no, no.
opponents out.
It's a med ball, a 20
Yeah.
pound med ball. You just throw it up in
I
the
knew
air.
what
Yeah.
you were talking about. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
not to me, it's my kind of wall ball is more fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Talking about CrossFit, it leads into your podcast, which everyone, if you're listening to it, you can't see on his screen his little banner. But talk about the creation of Type 1 Lifting Podcast, as we're both diabetics and fellow podcast hosts.
So before the podcast, yeah, I have a t-shirt company. That's the main thing that started out. Um, it happened because when I was working at the Children's Hospital in the ER, I would always welcome the new onset diabetics coming into, the ER and just letting them know like, hey, you know, this is my experience. You're in a great, like, hospital to be taken care of. And so just kind of making it a little bit easier for them to like understand like they're gonna be in great care. Um, so one day I walked in and there was this mom crying hysterically outside in the hallway, and I was like, what's her deal? Like, and so they told me like, oh, her 5-year-old daughter just got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I'm like, damn, 5 years old? Like
Wow.
that's, I mean, I've met people that have gotten diabetes like 2 weeks after they were born. So yeah, so anyway, I walked in there and I was like, hey, I always welcome them. I always give them like kids a high five and stuff like that because it's a scary situation. You're in an emergency room, you have like random people you don't know who they are. So like I was like, "Hey, welcome to the club." And so I gave her a high five, and she's like, "I want water." She wanted like no part of me. And then the mom like looks at me like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, I just want to let you know that I'm a type 1 diabetic too as well. And so she's like, "Oh," and I'm like, and I told her my story of how I got diagnosed, and like, listen, like you're gonna be admitted to the hospital. You're gonna be in the best care possible. Um, I'm here all weekends. I'll bring you upstairs when you guys get admitted to the hospital. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Like I'm seriously down here like the whole weekend, like Saturday, Sunday, like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Like I'm not leaving. And so you can come down. And so she was like, thank you very much for doing this, And then I brought him up to this ICU because that's typically what we do. I don't know if they did that with you.
Mhm.
So take him to the ICUs to get admitted just to make sure like everything's okay. And I was like, I said once again, and I'll say it again, like I'm here all weekend. Stop by, feel free. And she gave me the biggest hug, and she's like, "Thank you for like pretty much taking me off the ledge." And I'm like, you're welcome. Thank you for listening to my goofy ass, pretty much. And so I'm walking downstairs, and I'm going to the elevator, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, I really talking to these kids are great and the parents, but I think I need to do a little bit more. And so I was like, okay. And I was like, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I was like, I was planning to do a t-shirt company with, of course, like fitness t-shirt companies or whatever. I was like, I was going to start to do a t-shirt company and figure something out. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just do? And I heard a podcast of saying that like you're like a product to be more successful if you donate it, if you have proceeds donated to a charity. And I was like, that's a genius idea. And so I started a t-shirt company that donates to the Children's Diabetes Foundation because they were the only one that reached back out to me and said, yes, we'd love to have you as someone to donate to our hospital. And they're based in Denver. I typically donate the proceeds of the shirts and everything else to like where they have like a little drop down menu when you donate of like the most of greatest needs, because that's a little bit more important than like anything else really, like clinical trials and stuff like that. Yeah, that's fine, but like the greatest needs, I think are more important than anything else. So I even tried the children's hospital I worked at, and I got no response.
Wow.
I was shocked, and I'm like, literally, you have the same email address than I do, and I got no response back whatsoever. And I was like, okay, well, you had your shot, so oh well. But yeah, it was yeah, and I'm very grateful. Like they're super nice. I've been on their magazine a bunch of like once, and so yeah, they're like I think it's a great partnership. So
Did I forget to put magazine model now in
no,
your
yeah,
title? Oh.
I've been on a couple of magazines, but it's crazy to think that like you just like they want to hear my story and put it in a magazine article, and I'm just some dude that likes working out that wants to donate, and just that's it. So I'm nothing like I mean I don't think I'm special. I'm just a normal guy with diabetes and wants to help the world pretty much. So
I'm the same. I feel the same way. I'm like, someone wants to hear a story about me. What? I'm some small guy from Missouri. Like, what's like? Who wants to learn? I mean, I am an open book. So, but here, even when I did interviews, it's like, okay, what's so special about my story? What's helping me stand out? But I love it when you're
yeah.
talking to your guest. It's a lot about around fitness and that impact. What do you enjoy about talking to those guests about?
With my guests, I've done like CrossFit athletes. It's majority CrossFit athletes, Olympic weightlifters, power lifters, diabetic weightlifters, diabetic power lifters, like trainers. I love hearing people's stories. It's almost like a book, pretty much. Like
Yep.
I ask them questions and be like, "Hey, you know, why did you do this?" Or like, "When did you get diagnosed? Like, why did you get involved in this?" And just like kind of hearing like their story that they probably never really talked about to anybody else. And it's cool, like it's just I think I love hearing people's stories. I think it's so cool. And like getting their experience of going to the CrossFit games, or getting their experience of being like the number one power lifter in their weight class, or like being like a 3-time CrossFit Games athlete, then going into weightlifting and being the number one in their weight class. It's just like unreal. It's like, and if you told me like all this podcast pretty much like started with like 3 other guys. It was supposed to be with 3 other guys, and I've told you before, and it was just so difficult to get all 3 of us together at once. And I'm like, okay, forget it. I'll just do it my own. I'll just do whatever. I'll just do it myself. And my first podcast started at a Panera Bread, and so which is crazy because like I was like at a weightlifting meet, and I'm like I was seeing this girl that was weightlifting because I wanted to see what a weightlifting meet was, and I just spur of the moment, I'm like, screw it, just do it. Hey, you want to do a podcast? All right, I'll do it at Panera Bread. Let's go. Well, and then we'll do the interview, and then you can go back. I'll talk to you later. I'll give you a shirt, whatever. So, but yeah, it's if you told me I got to see or meet all these people in like the fitness space, I'm like, you're out of your mind. There's no way, no way. I'm like, all these people, like I don't look up to, but it's just like I watch and I root for, because they're cool people. And I'm in awe of like all the people that I've interviewed. It's like unreal.
I love how you said that. If I never would believe that this would be the path that you would be going on. I have that same feeling, and I'm like thinking I'm still in a dream. Like, is this all really happening? Because if I didn't do this show, I would have met you or
Yep.
the diabetic community, which has helped me so much. And I've built a bond with all of you guys because we all can relate to each other. We all can learn from each other. We just enjoy each other's thoughts and what's going on in the diabetic community. But even some of the people like that I've looked up to, when I asked you what your dream job was, mine was to be a game show host.
Okay, I
And
could see that. I could definitely see that.
so obviously I'm hosting, not a game show, but I've actually gotten to interview game show host idols of mine. And I'm thinking, how is this possible? I have no agent. I don't have a manager. I'm not a celebrity, but these people are taking their time to talk to me. And it just means so much. And it's almost like we're both building like this scrapbook in a way where we can look back years from now and say, wow, I talked to this person. And it's an amazing feeling.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I mean, for me, I've interviewed a couple of like the announcers from the CrossFit Games. Actually,
Oh,
I've like 3 of them. And one of them was like, he's like that. He's been with he's been with CrossFit for like a long time, and he's like, hey man, that was really really good, like really good. And I was like, wow, like he said that like I did a great job. He's like, you did your homework, and he's like, have you ever thought about like other type of media? And I'm like, wow, what do you think? And he's like, well, CrossFit, like, contracts people out to do certain things. And I was like,
oh,
I'm like, wait a second. So you're telling me I could do stuff for the actual CrossFit like comp company? And they're like, yeah, like, and I'm like, oh, that's I would never think that would happen. Like, never. Obviously it hasn't happened, but I'm not really too worried about that. But like, I love podcasting. Like, I really can't get enough of it. I don't listen to the radio. I'll just listen to podcasts, and just hear other people's stories. And like, obviously I have to do my research for, you know I just started a CrossFit like news group where I have like 3 other people with me. We call ourselves the Touch and Go Gang. And yeah, we talk about the news too. And so I have to like do a lot of homework for that. And and I'm luckily I'm glad, because one of the other podcasts that I really look up to, and he's like, hey, would you want to join my media team?
oh,
And so I'm part of Clydesdale Media since, January. And, it's been pretty cool. I'm on their, YouTube channel, and, just seeing all the videos of me podcasting, and like seeing all those views of just like I don't even care if it's like 3 people. It's just like, Granted, I'm getting more than that. I'm getting close to like 1,000 views on my each episode, but well, 500 to 1,000. But it's like these people sat down or like were doing something else and actually listening on YouTube or like listening on my podcast, and like it's like unreal. Like just looking at these numbers, like I don't get depressed if I see low numbers. I'm just like, wow, these people still are like, I have like whatever, like 200 people like listening to my podcast. Like how cool is that?
Yep.
So it's, I don't like, I just think like these are actual people listening to my show. It's crazy. And now my son wants to get involved too. So we got a little podcast for him too.
Uh,
So yeah, I'll talk about that later. But anyway,
No, even all the videos, even the group with the three other people, it's just you can tell that you guys enjoy what you're doing. It's not like, oh, it's a job, I have to do this. No, you have the passion for it. You care about it. You want to create it. It doesn't feel like a job for you. And
yeah.
that's what makes podcasting so much fun is you enjoy it. Like, yeah, I've worked all day today, but when I come and do this, it's fun. I enjoy it. I look forward to it throughout the entire day.
Yep. Yeah. And it's funny because like I knew they were, I knew the other three were like in because they started buying like they were like asking me about like radio, like podcasting gear. And I was like, okay, like I know these guys want to do it. And they love doing it. Like I hear from other people that like, hey, like you guys do great. And they like, yeah, I've talked to, Xander or like Hannah or, Vic, and they're like, yeah, they love, getting the chance to talk and stuff. And like I kind of like I obviously run the thing, and I'm like, okay, here are the bullet points that I want to hit up. Like, what do you guys want to hit up? And it's just like, yeah, it's finally like we're on a third episode, and it's like finally like flowing. It's like really flowing instead of everyone like kind of cutting into each other, which is awesome. So
So what does the future look like for you? What are you hoping to accomplish in the next few years, both personally and professionally?
I would love to be a full-time podcaster.
Okay, I can see it.
Love to do it. I mean, the one problem is insurance.
Yeah.
Um, I would love to get the chance to do that. Like I mean, obviously I'm doing it right now. I can sit down and like chew someone ear off, just like talking the whole time. Like no problem. Like whatever. Like, and like, it's funny because my full-time job, I'm a medical recruiter, and I talk to people on the phone all day about a position or whatever. And I kind of talk to them like what their experiences are. And then I come home and I'll like talk to the kids, talk to the wife, and then like do a podcast like for an hour and a half. It's just like, I can talk. I have no problem talking. It's just, I would love to do that full time if I could. Obviously, like career wise, I mean, I would like to be a little bit more successful as a recruiter too. I mean, that would help. And then we are actually moving to a new house as we speak, and I would like to get a little better setup than this. And granted, I do have like the blue lights and everything like that, and all that jazz. I have like the $10 flag personal thing I made, but I kind of want to just and like not have like a squeaky chair too. That's another thing, because I got this from like my neighbor. So anyway, I would like to build a better studio, pretty much, because like I was thinking about maybe doing like a type 1 lifting like background wall that you like hang up and stuff like that. Something like that. And then I would like to actually go to an actual like legit CrossFit meet. I've watched them, and it's so hard to get them. But like my main goal is in January. There's a CrossFit competition in Miami called Wadapalooza, and one of the guys that is the head guy of the media company that I'm kind of partnering with, he is going to be there, and he's like, hey, there's a room available if you want to, hop in and kind of hang out with me, and we can do podcasts and stuff like that. And like, I just want to see, it's like a big party scene, but it's like with fitness. Like there's hundreds of athletes there working out, and there's other people, like really famous people, like, they're hanging out and just like shooting content. So I have a huge list. I want to start doing I want to start doing a YouTube channel, which I already have one right now, but I haven't really done much to it. Of my journey to at least do well in a weightlifting competition, from my start to finish, doing a CrossFit just doing CrossFit workouts and doing an Olympic weightlifting meet. So, and then obviously be a great dad, great husband, you know, and yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
Got a lot on your plate, I can tell.
Yeah, huge. That's what I told you, long list.
The final question I'll ask you, for someone that's listening to this interview based on your journey and experience, what tips or advice would you give them to overcome obstacles, accomplish their goals, and rise to the challenge?
So I always use this quote. I got this quote from Richard Branson. He had a book out. It was called "Screw It, Just Do It." I live by that. I wouldn't have probably done this t-shirt company, Type 1 Lifting. I definitely would have done this podcast if I didn't say "Screw it, just do it," because you always think, like, especially with a t-shirt company, you always think that there is like the right time to pull the trigger and do it. And it was like the perfect time was yesterday.
Yeah.
And you just ruined it. So just go out and do it, because you know, like, you're gonna have some mishaps and stuff like that. Like my first rendition of the t-shirts, like the printing was off and it was just like breaking up. It was just awful. But it was like, it's a learning curve. Like, okay, I need to learn more about printing and like what type of printing I need to do and stuff. And then with podcasting, it was like, okay, like the first time I did a podcast, I thought the first ever podcast I did, the recording wasn't going through. I thought like, I was like, crap, we gotta do this over again. But I didn't realize like the program was loading, because like I didn't really go into how to use the app properly. And then, you know, working my way with audio, like I would take my mixer, like my Zoom H5, and aim it at the computer speaker and recorded that with my other speaker. And I'm like, wait a second. And then I looked at a YouTube channel and I'm like, oh wait, you can connect your mixer to your computer, and that's how you get the sound. That's how you get good sound. I was like, oh my God, like, why didn't I think of it? Like, it's just, you know, it's a learning story. It's just like, screw it, just do it. Just like, whatever. It sounds like garbage, just get better. You know, it's going to happen. Or if like you're not really good at a movement, just screw it, just do it. Just whatever. Just see what movement, you know, which way you move can make this lift, or, you know, make this movement, or, you know, make this exercise a lot quicker. You know, it's just, I don't know. I just say screw it, just do it. That's my thing.
Well, Thomas, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about your rise to the challenge. You're inspiring so many people, and we're excited to see what the future looks like for you.
Thanks, man. Dude, I once again, I always say, like, thank you for having me on. Like, it's so weird being on the other side of a podcast, but I thank you very much for having me on.